You are now ready to start part 2, investigating mass. In this investigation, your teacher will give you a can that is smaller than the original one that you did part 1 with. The smaller can is the lighter mass, and the larger can is the heavier mass. Your teacher will also give you a digital scale for you to find the mass of the two cans. To use the digital scale, you'll open it up and push the on-off button. The on-off button will turn it on, and you will then look up in the upper right-hand corner and make sure that you see the little letter G. This represents grams, and that is the unit that we are using. If you don't see the G, you are going to push the mode button until you do see the G. So if you have this at 0, 0 and this at the letter G, then you are ready to put the first can onto the pan. Once the can is on the pan, you will look at this number right here and you will record that into your data table. You will do the exact same thing for the second can. After you record your data, then turn off the scale and close the lid and set it off to the side. The first step in the lab is to measure and record the mass of both of the cans. I said in the previous slide that you needed to record the mass, and this is where you record the mass. It is going to be in this column where it says mass in grams. The next step is to roll the clay into a ball and measure the thickness of the clay. You're going to follow the same procedure, inserting the toothpick down to the bottom of the surface, marking it, and then using the ruler to determine the thickness of the clay. You are going to record the thickness before in the space indicated by the yellow box. Testing for mass is very similar to testing for speed. You are going to perform 2 trials with each of the cans, so 2 with the bigger can and 2 with the smaller can. Since we are not testing speed, we must keep the speed the same. Therefore, we are going to drop and not throw the cans. Remember to start at the top of the ruler and each time you perform a trial, and make sure that it drops onto the clay. If it does not drop on the clay, then you're going to want to repeat it 1 or 2 more times until you can get it to drop onto the clay. Again, you are going to follow the same procedure you did before for finding the thickness of the clay. Remember that you're going to want to make sure that you stick the toothpick into the clay where it hit it. Mark your toothpick, take the toothpick out, and determine the thickness after. Very similar to the data table on the top, that first trial, you are going to put your number right here in the first box for the thickness after. Then you are going to do the math. So you are going to calculate the amount of squish. So let's say you started with clay that measured 30 millimeters, and after you dropped the light can on it, it squished down to 25 millimeters. That means that you had a squish of 5 millimeters. Next, you are going to perform the trial again, and your numbers are going to go into the second set of boxes. Then you will switch cans. You will perform the trial twice for the heavy can, using the first box in each column for the first trial, and then the second box in each column for the second trial. To review, as you move through the lab, you are going to want to perform 2 trials, dropping the smaller light mass can, and 2 trials dropping the bigger, heavier mass can. Remember that you're going to want to reshape the clay each time you perform a trial. When you are done with this section of the lab, part 2, then you're going to want to pick up a lab wrap-up worksheet and work on that with your team.